Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this session, we will be creating login and register endpoints. So we will be integrating login and register endpoints which we have created backend endpoints in the previous session. So let's see if we go to server folder and go to routes, user routes. So we have created login and register endpoints. So if you see what we have written for the login and register. So we are checking the email to check whether the user is already exist or not before creating the user. And we are encrypting the password into the database by using bcrypt. In the same way, at the time of login also, we are checking both the email and password, and we are returning to the client this data: first name, last name, email, and userman. Okay, see. So let's go to the client, and we need to integrate these changes. So first, let's go to browser. If you see here, I'm in the login route, login and register. So there is some space here. Let's go home component, header component.html. Yes, this one. Okay, padding that I have given, so we get some good space between this login, home, and register. So if you see now, app.component.html, we are having search component and tags component inside the app component.html. So that is why we are able to see the search and tags component inside the register route. So we don't want to display these two components inside the register and login route. So what we can do is we simply remove these things from here. We'll cut it and paste it inside the pages, home. Let's go here and paste it here. So it will be visible only on the home page as well as the checkout page. So you can do the same thing here as well. So let's go to the browser. It's still there. Home page. Okay, it is displaying twice. It is not saved the file. app.components.html is not saved. Let's save it and refresh it again. So now if you go to login, so here we can only see login works and the register works. So let's copy some snippet for the register. Let's copy this code and I'll explain these things. So register. So here this is the register component. Let's paste this HTML. So what we have here, it's just content fluid we have taken and row, and this is things like we have registration form as a form group and first name, last name, email, password as the form controls. And we have some error message here and we'll be discussing that one. For now, you can comment it out. Otherwise, you can keep as it is. So we need to add these same variable names inside the components. Let's add these variable names inside the component. Let's directly take it as an empty array and add on init lifecycle hook. Okay, now what we can do is import Angular forms. Import form group, form builder, comma form group. So let's add the constructor. Private underscore FB instance of form builder. Okay. So what is the name here? Form name registration form. Let's copy the same thing and paste it here. Okay. And the type of form group. So we'll be getting these warnings. So it is because of latest TypeScript version you have to add exclamation symbol. Okay. Now this dot create form. And in this method we need to add the form controls. Okay, if you go to registration component.html, we have first name, last name, email, and password as the form controls, right? So let's add those things. This dot registration form equal to this dot fb dot group. So first name, okay, first name, last name, email, first name, last name, email, and password. I have attached all of this repo code into the GitHub. You can find it in the description, and you can directly clone the code. So first name, last name, email, these are the form controls we have taken. Now if you go to, we have this save method. Let's add this save method. So when we submit the form, so it will be calling this method. So console.log, let's print the form values. This dot registration form dot value. Okay. Now let's save all of this and go to the browser. Okay. We got this simple input. So if you see, I'm giving just some sample details, and password I am giving as 123456. Okay. When I click on submit, it has to print the values, given values inside the console. Let's click on submit and go here. You can see, able to see the first name, last name, email, and password in the console. Okay. Now let's go. What we can do is we can create the interface for this form values what we send to the API endpoint. So now let's quickly go and create the interfaces. So inside the share folders, you can create ilogin.ts. Okay, and one more file, iregistration. Okay, so I have created ilogin, iregistration, and the model we need to have user.ts. Okay, let's create all at one time, user.ts, which is a class. Okay, let's add export class, export interface, I login. Okay, so which will be having email and password for the login password. So we have created login interface. Now what we can do is we need to have the registration. So what registration will contain? Let's take some sample fields: first name, last name, email, password. So export export interface registration. Okay, so what it will contain: first name, just type of string, last name string, email string, and password, just type of string. Okay, we have created login and registration interfaces. Now let's also create user class, okay, where we can set and get the user data into the local storage. So let's have, so what we can have, user inside the user.ts export class user. So first thing will be, let's take id as a string, name will be string. Now we have to add this explanation mark, the latest TypeScript is becoming mandatory, so that what we can do is, what we are telling to the compiler is, we will be initializing these values in the later section, like means it will be in the runtime. So email address, okay, token. So if we are initializing all of these values, we can use these values in the future. Whenever we need, we can use these values. Okay, boolean. So we have successfully created the interfaces and the class. Now it's time to integrate the services. So inside the user service, let's close all of these files. Just wanted to open services. So if you open user service.ts, here we have to create the login and registration methods. So first of all, we have to import HTTP client and need to create the instance private underscore HTTP type of HTTP client. Okay, now add login and registration method. Registration. So we'll be adding these methods, and we wanted to use set user to local storage. So just we are creating all of this required method, and then we can add the code into it. So let's start with registration. So user, let's take user register as the parameter, and which is a type of registration. Okay, which will return observable. Observable of user. Okay, so these things are getting imported on top. So here we have to register user. So return this dot underscore HTTP dot, which is a type of post. Okay, and we have to mention the return type will be user. Okay, So we have already created the routes for this user and login. So if you go to url.ts, see here we have login route, login endpoint, and user registration endpoints. So let's copy user registration endpoint and paste it here and import it. So we are returning the user. So we need to pass the payload user register. Now we can chain this to pipe. Pipe. We can use the tab operator here. Tab. So what we can do is we can set it to the local storage. Okay. Now we'll be having next. So next, what will be taking user and an arrow function. So inside this one, what we can do, we can call the set user to local storage. Okay, this we can do, and if we get an error, that also we can do here itself. We can log the error response. Which is an arrow function console.log error response. So what we are doing, we are setting it to the local storage, and we have created here. Okay, so before this we can also take one observable for this user to store in the local storage and get the values of the user anywhere. Okay, let's add that observable. So we'll be adding observable. Okay, now before that one we can add user key for getting the local storage and setting. Okay, let's name this one as user. Now let's add behavior subject. Private user subject. Let's name this one as user subject equal to new behavior subject, which is a type of user. Okay, so for this one what we can do, we can add one more item, this get user from local storage. So this method we can set it. So we have to create at the initial level, we'll be having this data. Okay, we have created set user storage and get user from the local storage. So what it will be having, user, we need to get the user from the local storage. So let's add this data inside this get user from the local storage. So what it will contain, it will return basically the user. So let's add the return type of user, and let's check the user is present inside the local storage. So let's take one variable user JSON equal to local storage. We have to get it from the local storage. Local storage dot get item. The key is user. Okay. If user JSON is present, return parsed user. So we have to parse JSON dot parse user JSON. Okay, otherwise let's make it as user. Otherwise it will be new user. So what it is doing, basically it is checking for the user in the local storage. If it is exists, it is returning the parsed user. Otherwise it will be creating the new user. Okay, now what we have to do is we can also set the data for the set user local storage. So here what it will be, local storage dot set item user key comma. So here it will, what will be getting inside the use set item user, which is a type of user, will not return anything. So here will be stringify the user, JSON dot stringify user. So here we will be using this way. Okay, so what will be passing for the set item user. So in this way what we have done, we are setting the user to the local storage and we are getting it from the local storage. So now go back to user subject. So we have to take one observable which will be useful for subscribing this user. So now take user observable as a name, the variable name, which is a type of observable of user. So here we can make it public user observable type of user. Now what we can do is we can make this observable inside the constructor. This dot user observable equal to this dot user subject dot as observable. So we have made it observable, and so that we can able to access the user from any component. Okay, we can also create one get method for this one. Let's create that one. Public get current user. Okay, so which will return the user subject value. Return this dot user subject dot value. Okay, so now we have created all the routes. We need to send it to the API, so we can call it. So the same way, so as we have created most of the things, let's create for the logout as well. Login logout method as well. Logout. So what it will do is it will create the new user. It will empty the previous values and it will create the new values. So here user subject dot next. So this will be creating new user when the user clicked on logout. And also we need to remove the item from the local storage. Local storage dot remove item user key. If required, we can refresh the page by using window.location.reload. So now we have added all of these methods. Let's go to login as well. So the login, what is the request type? We'll be getting iUser login. We have created iUser. We have created one interface, right? So the same way for the login as well, you can add user login parameter iUser. Okay, so which is a type of email and password we'll be getting into this one, and which will return observable of user. User. So this is also a post method. Let's add return this dot underscore http dot post, and it will be the type of user. We'll be getting it back, return type user, and we have to mention the user endpoint. So now let's go to url.es again and copy this user login and paste it here. So import it and the payload user login. Okay, now again we need to use the pipe operator, pipe, and the tab. So in the same way what we have done with the registration, we can use the same thing here. So this dot, so let's take tab and next, which will receive the user. So this dot set user to local storage, we will be passing user there. And what we can also do is we can set the value for the user subject. This dot user subject dot next user. Okay, now error, so we can receive error response. Just for now we will be consoling this error response. So we have created all the methods which are required for the login service. First one is the login, another one is the logout, registration, and set user and get user from the local storage. Okay, now we need to call this registration method from the registration component. So here we have to call that method. Let's add that service into this component. So I'm importing user service. Import user service to the component and create the instance private underscore user service. Okay, now we have to call the registration method, this dot user service dot registration, going to pass this value. Let's add const payload equal to this dot registration form dot value. Let's pass this payload subscribe data console.log data. So we are calling this one unsubscribing. Okay, let's go to the browser and see what is happening. Let's close this and DevTools. So let me give Shrikant and Shrikant@gmail.com 123456 as a password. Let's open the MongoDB Compass. So here we have the MongoDB Compass. So we should have the user collection. So here it is MongoDB. This is our database, the user collection. So we have these users already. So let's delete all of these things. Let's make it empty. Okay, refresh it. Okay, we got the empty. Now let's go to the browser and click on submit. Let me open the network tab as well. So we have to check. So submit. So we are getting 404. Let's see what is the endpoint. API/user registration. First of all, let's go why this is not finding that particular endpoint. Inside the server routes user/register. Register. See, registration is there. We have added the register. Okay, let's go to url.ts and change it to /user register. Let's run it one more time. Okay, let's remove all of this debug point. One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay. Now click on submit and go to the network. What it is saying, 500. Okay, so user validation failed. Is admin is required. Okay, address is required. So what we can do is, we can, for now we can just pass these values as well. Okay, is admin. Let's add this admin. Okay, by default let's make it false. Address is also address, just type of string. So let's try one more time. We can add these values in the form as well if required. So for the testing purpose, I'm just running it directly. Click on submit and go. Still we are getting 500. Status code. Address is required. User validation failed. Address. We are passing address. We are also passing the address. Let's go to the terminal. Is it compiled successfully? Not. So seems like we are getting some issues here. So let's run it one more time. And let's see. Go to the browser. Once this compiled successfully, we can check. Still compiling. Yeah, connected successfully. Now let's refresh the page one more time and try again. Let's click on submit. Still we are getting 500. Okay, Okay, let's go to the API endpoint. What is there? User routes.ts. Okay, here what we have, let's go to the model, user model. Is admin, is it required? True. True. So also we are sending this from the endpoint. Let's print this data, console.log request.board. So you can see what is coming to the request. Okay, let's click one more time and go to the terminal. See what we are getting: first name, last name, email. We are able to print it in the on this here. Okay, address is getting as empty, right? So what we can do is we can add one more email address. Let's copy this thing and make it as text, give it as address, form control name, address. So we are giving, we are adding form control name, address into the form, registration form. See here, enter address. Now let's try one more time, because the API endpoint is expecting address is mandatory. So let's add that one as well. So password, I've given some random password, or let's give 123456. Let's remember this password and click on submit. Now go to the request. Now it's getting inserted successfully, and here you can see we are getting back this data from the API. Response, email, first name is admin. Okay, so we are only returning these values: first name, last name, and is admin. And if you also go to the local storage, see, these are the user details we got into the local storage. Okay, now I think we should also get the token as well. Let's go to the endpoint one more time and see what we have written there. User route.ts. So here we are not returning this token, so let's return that one as well. Token. Now if you give one more h, and let's try the existing user. Okay, now if I click on the submit again with the same user details. Okay, so what should we get? Just click here a response. Let's click one more time. See, here we are getting user already exists, please try with the different email. So if we are clicking on the same details again, so we are getting the response from the server. This user is already exist. Here if you see registration component.ts, we are getting this one, user already exist. So we can assign this value to the string and we can display the same thing here. Let's go here, error message. Let's add error console dot. Now let's print this error first. I'm just adding one console.log, remove the breakpoint, and see, let's try to add the same details. We should get the same error. So we are checking with the email basically for the registration. See, I clicked on it. So registration component, we are getting the error. So let's add the same thing. This dot error message equal to error dot. So what we are getting, dot message. So let's add this for the registration form. So here it is there, right? So I think it should work. It should display the user already exists message. Click on submit. See, user already exists. Please try with different email. So try is missing here. You can add from the server. Please try with different email. Okay. Now we have successfully integrated the register endpoint. So we are able to register the user. So let's try to give with a different email. I'm adding one more H here and clicking on submit. Let's go to the network and see, we should get the token from the endpoint API response. So what I have done, just I have added one more extra H. So if you refresh the users collection, you should have two records. One is with Srikanth and one is for the we have added one more H for this one. So we are able to successfully register the user. So if you click on here login, it will go to login. Okay, now we will be adding the login functionality. Okay, so I have prepared the snippet for the login as well. In order to save some time, let's do that one. Now let's close all of these files. Just open the login component, login component.html. So I have prepared this login snippet, pasted it directly, and let's add all of these required things. Okay, so login form in the same way what we have added for the registration. So let's import form builder, comma form group, form group. So we have imported here and add implement spawn init lifecycle hook. Okay, so in on init, add the constructor as well. So here the constructor, so create private underscore fb form builder and also add user service underscore user service. So it is imported automatically when we are typing. Okay, so let's add the same method, create form. If you run it directly, you will get error because we have not added all of these variables in the test file. So which is a type of form group. Okay, add this explanation mark here and this dot create form. Let's create this method. Okay, so what we'll be doing is dot user form login form, right? Login form equal to this dot fb dot group. So we need to have these details for the login: email and password. I'm not doing any validations here. Okay, just remember we are mainly focusing on the logic. So we are mainly doing the backend integration. So we have created login method and we have added email and password. Okay, now let's add the save method similar to the user registration. Okay, so const payload is dot login form dot value. Okay, now we need to pass this one to the service. This dot user service dot login payload dot subscribe data. So console dot log data. Okay, now error console dot log error. Just add it console ts. Okay, now what we can do is, after successful registration, we can make it navigate to login. So if you see on the registration route, what we are doing, so we are directly setting the data to the local storage in the registration, which works similar to the login. Okay, here set data to the local storage. So what we can do is, we'll directly redirect to the home page and we'll do the changes there. Okay, so in the registration, import router from Angular router, and let's create the instance private router. Okay, now let's navigate back to this dot router dot and let's just make it slash. Okay, just make it home. Okay, this work. What is missing? Let's see. Let's save all the files. We simply use navigate. Okay, slash home or slash, you can give only slash, which will be. So what we are doing here, on successful registration, we are navigating the user to the home page, and there what we will be displaying, we will be hiding login and register links, and we will be adding my account, user account, and the list of orders which are created by that particular user. Okay, so here we have added this one, and if you go to login, so I'm just giving these things and password. Okay, let's see. Let's open this browser console, clear the network tab, and click on login. I have to check login response. So here we are able to get the login response successfully. Okay, we are able to log in successfully. Now do the same thing. Unsuccessful login. Let's navigate back to the home page. See, here you can import the same thing. Let's copy the same thing from the registration component and import the router here. Add it in the constructor private router. So type of router. So let's try one more time. We should redirect to the home page. 1 2 3 4 5 6. See, as we have given the right password, we are able to log into the page and it got redirected to home page. So in the next session, what we'll be doing, we will be removing login and register based on the user login. If he successfully logs in, we'll be removing these things and we'll be showing my account with the orders what he has ordered. So what we can do is, let's remove data from the local storage, refresh the page, and if the user is not successfully logged in, see, let's go here and let's make this one wrong password. So if you go to this here, we are getting login error, invalid email or password. So the same thing we have to display it on the form page. So here let's add error message, same error message, empty error message I'm taking here, and we can add the same, we can display the same error message here. Let's copy this div from the registration route and paste it here. So if you see here what we are doing, as we have successfully created the registration route and we are saving it, showing it to the user. So in the same way we are trying to show the error message to the user. Let's copy the same error message here. Okay, we will take this one and paste it inside the error route, error handling. So here you can see I'm entering some details, login, invalid email or password, it is showing. So if I enter the correct password 1 2 3 4 5 6, it should log in and redirect back to the home page. Okay, so we have successfully integrated the login and register API endpoints. Okay, in the next session what we'll be seeing is unsuccessful login. We'll be hiding this login, we'll be removing this login and register links, and we'll be showing a user icon with the particular orders. Okay, thank you guys for watching and we'll see in the next session.